Although we shall delve deeper into this topic in the next video, the Shanzhong acupoint, Renmai 17, is named the Sea of Qi or Northern Sea. It's located in the center of the chest. This area, Shanzhong, is actually situated at the diaphragmatic insertion of the pericardium and connected to the base of the lungs. And precisely in this region without thickness lies the source of an energetic entity called GAO Huang, or diaphragm's fluid fats. You know there's a point, bladder 43, named GAO Huang Shu. It's the Shu point of this area called GAO Huang, from which the Cheng tells us the classic story that the emperor was very ill and his physician diagnosed that the disease had reached the GAO Huang area, hence it was incurable. Meaning, as it's the last possible reserve of resources, the deepest one, if reached, there's no solution. Well, Sun Simiao said, Huang is the diaphragm below the heart, Gao is the fluid fat. It's also said that what's fixed is the firm fat and what's melted is the fluid fat. Moreover, it's affirmed that Gao relates to the firm and fluid fats of the heart. We know that the term Huang defines all connective tissue, including the diaphragm. Although a more specific term to denote this muscle is Ge. But Sun Simiao goes further. Below the heart lies the fluid fat Gao. And Jean-Marc Eyssalet says that therefore Gao Huang designates the precious fluid fats located at the base of the heart, that is, between the heart and the diaphragm, in a region that seems to respond to a subtle hoarding linked to energy and fluids, located in the extension of the chest center, as a concrete support for the energetic reserves of the Sea of Breath or Sea of Qi, Shanzhong. Here we see that Sun Simiao establishes a difference between the fixed fats, Zhi, and the fluid fats, Gao, with the latter seemingly constituting the circulating and available element, while the fixed fats, Zhi, if accumulated excessively, seem to be pathological. Jean-Marc Eyssalet says that the fluid fats of the heart, or Gao, can take the direction of the nervous system. An implication of the heart meridian is respiration, which is also a role of Chong Mai in its ascent towards the eyes and ears, but also in descendant towards the perineum. It's a descent of Zhongqi energy and the accompanying fluid substances toward the Qijie point, stomach 30. Conversely, poor circulation of the heart and the profound insufficiency of diaphragm mobilization throughout respiration can retract this sea of qi from the upper jiao, thus favoring the predominance of fixed fats, zhi, at the level of the heart. This relationship established by Jean-Marc Eyssalet between respiration and the mobilization of supradiaphragmatic Gao seems interesting to me because, from the perspective of Chinese medicine, it explains why cardiovascular physical exercise, which requires diaphragm mobilization due to increased breath frequency and amplitude, has positive effects on overall health. And it has been demonstrated that physical exercise, obviously adapted, improves inflammatory processes. And of course, it's normal because even though they are two different views of the body and its physiology, they have to account for the clinical reality we encounter. And now Eyssalet takes a leap and returns to Ling Shu 1, which says the source or source point of fluid fats, Gao, emerges from the turtle tail point, which is the name of Renmai 15, which, according to the text, is a unique point. And it continues. The source or source point of the diaphragm arises from the central vitality point. Undoubtedly, this is REM 6. Jean-Marc Eyssalet says that central vitality is a unique point, and this is relevant because it's relating the text, the fluid GAO fats, to a point, REM 15, which is not only the low point of REM, but is also called the yuan point of GAO. In his extensive knowledge of classical text, Jean-Marc Eyssalet jumps again to Dacheng 6, where the diaphragm is presented as, I quote textually, a membrane at the level of Juque, REM 15, in front and resting on the 11th vertebra behind, making a journey inside the body until reaching the spine. In doing so, it bars the passage of turbid breaths and intercepts them so they can cause a burning sensation in the heart and lungs. And still once again, Jean-Marc Eyssalet does another pirouette jump to cite a commentator from Nanjing, who was Master Yi Yuan, who said, "What we call Shanzhong is the fat GAO that covers inside the diaphragm membrane in the interval of the 5 Zhang and the 5 Zhu. Water and cereals drain and transform through digestion. Their energy heats and concentrates in this interval. A warm vapor is abundantly produced in the diaphragm membrane. It sweeps between the skin and flesh. It goes and comes everywhere." And now let's remember what Dr. Marta Koderk said about Lingshu 36. The superficial yin and deep ye fluids of the 5 grains harmonize, combining and produce the GAO, or fluid fat. Inside, this fluid fat penetrates the large cavity of the bones, tonifies and enriches the brain and marrow, and then descends and flows towards the yin limbs. So the accumulation and hoarding of GAO occur in the upper part, in the brain, thanks to the penetration by the nervous system of this refined fat through the route we had described and favored by points Dumai 1, Dumai 15, Dumai 16, Dumai 17, Dumai 20, and Dumai 28. And then we see how this dialogue between the refined fluids, the GAO, the bones, the marrow, and the nervous system belongs to the functions of the 6 receptacles of the curious viscera, the Qihai, which seem to be rather mysterious because anybody speaks in depth about them. And this viscera function, in Jean-Marc Eyssalet's opinion, is to cultivate the perenniality of being. Let's go back to Jean-Marc Eyssalet. He continues by saying that this fluid fat, after tonifying and enriching the brain, descends and flows towards the yin limbs, that is, the legs. But the expression of the limbs and the yin can also be understood as the limbs and the genital organs. And this author reinforces this idea with Lingshu 75, where he stated that the fluid fats of the diaphragm, on one hand, ascend towards the respiratory pathways, but there's a descending branch to point stomach 30, Qijie. Indeed, according to Nanjing 31, this energetic place is simultaneously a settling point for the entire 3 jiaos. Let's listen to Nanjing 31. Shanjiao is active at the Qijie point, stomach 30. In other words, stomach 30 stimulates the 3 jiaos. This acupoint is also a junction point with Chongmai. As you know, with the entire muscular apparatus of the perineum and pelvis called Thongjin, which also includes the penis in men. And here is a confirmation that emerges. The deep fluids are spontaneously lost by the genital organs in the form of lechorrea in women or seminal losses in men. And this may be due to a global yin-yang imbalance. Because in this sense, Su 144 asserts that all yin and all yang meet in Zhongjing, which is called the ancestral muscle and correspond to this entire structure of inguinal pelvic musculature resoning on stomach 30. But what are the pathophysiological consequences? Dr. Marta Koderk has already explained it when she said that in this case the lower limbs were weak, kidneys and hips arched, etc., etc. So Jean-Marc Eyssalet continues by saying the pathways of yin-yang breath no longer communicate. The 4 Cs are blocked. The 3 jiaos no longer expand their energies. The superficial jin and deep ye organic fluids no longer transform. The food circulating and associating in the light of the stomach and intestines at the level of the end of the small intestine stagnate, meaning they no longer pass into the large intestine and they cannot penetrate the interior of the body either, causing the lower jiao to be invaded by water, shui. And the obstructive power of this water causes edema. This is the reverse qi circulation of organic fluids, qi ni. I remind you that this was from Su 144, and I found it interesting because Jean-Marc Eyssalet is dynamically explaining the related physiology of the upper, middle, and lower jiaos, and by doing this, he elucidates many aging symptoms and also the complaints of some of our patients, which, if we better understand, we might be in a better position to treat or at least to alleviate, which, in the end, is the point of all this study we're going through.